am I so low to the ground? Hold on, let me fix this. Am I so low to the ground? That's weird. I don't understand why I'm placed like this. Anyways, oh Hanaki! Did you know that our souls are connected by fate? Well, what do you know? I'm Yuno Hanaki from production Kawaii's Hanamizuki. Good afternoon, everybody. Forgot the booster seat. Shut up. We're already starting off bad. The hell? The first formal OniMon of 2024, and already I'm getting bullied. How dare you? Also, I'm standing, so if anything, it would be a footstool. At least get it right. Tell me about the fluff that has plot. That's a very interesting way to phrase that question. There is fluff that has plot, but there's primarily fluff without plot. We're gonna get to all that. Hi, oh Hanaki. Didn't know Ron knows about fanfiction. I think most people at least have a vague idea about fanfiction. I think you'd be hard pressed to find people who have like never heard of fanfiction at all. Which is part of why I thought this stream would be an interesting one to do, at least from like the perspective of someone that writes a lot of fanfic and reads a lot of fanfic. So we'll be talking about fanfiction. I'll be answering your questions about any specific terminology that you're curious about. I'll also just be going over like vague terms, ones that you would need to know. We can talk about like fanfiction fun facts and things like that as well. It's one of the more, I guess, like traditional OniMon formats where I take questions about the topic and I talk about it that way. We haven't done one of those lately. Like tags or something? Yes, and sometimes they are tags, sometimes they are not tags. I don't know, it's... There is quite a bit to learn if you are willing. So, we'll just kind of be going over all sorts of topics. As long as it pertains to fanfiction. But of course, as we know, on this channel, on the Yuno Hanaki channel, we do often go off topic, but we're gonna try our best to stick to the intended schedule. But yeah, so fanfiction, or sometimes abbreviated to fanfics, are stories that are written within the existing universe or canon of a existing franchise. It doesn't always have to be set within the canon, but it takes aspects of a existing media franchise or product or thing of that nature. Sometimes you can also get fanfiction about real people, but it's generally frowned upon. But basically, you take a thing that you don't necessarily like own, and then you write fanfiction about it. Basically. I'm more familiar with the kind that's about like fictional media, like taking an already existing fictional media and then writing fanfic about that. I know a little bit less about fanfics regarding real people. Naru got it. Amazing. But yeah, so that's generally what fanfiction is. But you can write fanfiction about things that you might not expect to be able to write fanfiction about. There's fanfic about real people, like I said. There's fanfic about commercials. There's fanfic about like real life products. Basically, if it exists, you might be able to find a fanfiction for it. Whether or not that fanfiction is serious or not is debatable, but it's hard to say. So yeah, fanfiction can be written about any existing intellectual property or like thing that exists, basically, that you don't... It's basically stuff that you didn't make up. but then you make up like other stuff while using that thing. Most commonly, people assume that fanfiction is about taking characters from an existing series and like pairing them together, and then like telling stories about those characters together as a pair. That's called shipping, which is short for relationship, relationship-ing, where you take two characters and you pair them together, and basically like show what they would be like in a relationship, or shipping. I think when most people think of fanfiction, those are the fanfics that come to mind the most, and also the like extreme parody ones. Yeah, see, someone even mentioned one in the chat, the one about, well, I don't know if this was directly from a fanfic. I think it might have been. But there was a time where someone wrote fanfic about President Obama interacting with Sonic characters and, like, specifically mentioning the Chaos Emeralds. And there have been other similar parody works as well. There was a very long, Super Smash Bros. Fanfic that was very popular for a period of time because of how, like, insanely long that it was. There's also, like, published books of, other kinds of fanfiction. I mentioned this the last time I brought up fanfiction, but, 50 Shades of Grey is actually a fanfiction of Twilight that the author just took what they had already written, changed the names, and then got it published. It used to be the longest piece of literature. Yeah, that's why it was famous. Because it was, like, the longest thing that was ever written, even though it was a fan work. It got topped by a Loud House fanfiction. Now that I didn't know. Interesting that it's Loud House of all things. But, like, basically it goes to show that fans are very passionate about the things that they love, and they're able to tell, like, their own, sometimes very long stories. I've read multiple fanfics that have been taken down and turned into publishable works. That's the thing, right? The way that that can even happen is because you don't need to rely on the existing IP in order to have it stand alone as its own story. Like, for 50 Shades, at least, you could take out the fact that it was Edward and Bella, and then just change the names so that they were original characters, and then you would basically have your own standalone story. Because it was like an alternate universe Twilight. Which is one of the terms in the thumbnail. AU, or alternate universe, is basically, what if characters were in a different version of their existing universe? There are subsections of AU. There are tons of, like, more common tropes for AUs. That can be a little bit difficult to narrow down. But some common ones are canon divergence, where it is basically the same canon story, but you change either a minor or a very big thing that happens within the original work. And then you basically tell the story about, like, well, what if this happened instead of that? Or what if I added this character instead of having it be this one who's there at this time? And, like, that kind of thing. Canon divergences can be very minor, or they can be, like, completely, like, story altering. It depends on what the author in question wants to do. I think one of the other most common alternate universes is the school alternate universe. It could be either a high school AU or a college AU, but it's basically taking the characters and, like, smacking them into their own fictional high school or college setting and giving them, like, teen or young adult drama. I like to think of AUs as if characters are acting in dramas. There is actually a subsect of AU where the writers imply that the original canon is, like, a movie or a show that the characters are acting in. It's like an actor AU. That is, like, its own subsect of alternate universe fanfiction. I noticed it got really popular with things like Genshin Impact and the like, because of how often the actors would, like, get together and play games together while not necessarily being in character. A lot of people would start, like, treating the Genshin characters as if they were their voice actors and vice versa. So that is also a subsect of AU. But that is basically a good way to look at it, because when you take characters that already exist and you put them in a new setting like that, like an entirely new universe, you basically create your own interpretation of how that character would act within that universe. How much of their original selves do you bring over? If you're writing out, like, key aspects of the character, you might get a character that's completely different, or is, like, molded to better suit the universe that you are building. Fanfiction just takes the existing thing and allows you to, like, use it in place of coming up with your own characters, necessarily, but then you still end up kind of making your own interpretation just through putting them in a new universe and things like that. We talked about it before, but there's also coffee shop alternate universes. There's things like the soulmate alternate universe. That's usually an AU where the characters have some sort of marking or way to, like, tell who their soulmate is. And then they, like, experience having a soulmate based it on that, like, societal expectation. A very common one is, like, a tattoo that'll, like, appear on the back of the hand or something like that. Or, like, I know I've seen one where, like, the tattoo ends up being, like, the first words that your soulmate is going to tell you. That's an interesting one. So, like, you go through life having this tattoo on you that's, like, a set of words that's, like, the first thing you're ever going to hear from your soulmate, and you spend your life trying to, like, listen out for those words so you know who your soulmate is. Has anyone said Yuno cute today? No, they haven't. You would be the first. When your tattoo just says hi. I know, that'd be the vaguest thing ever. But yeah, that's basically what alternate universes are. One of the interesting things about fanfiction that I don't know if many people realize is that there are, like, different terms for length of fanfiction. Don't make us feel guilty for not saying you know cute. That's not what I intended. I was just saying that you would be the first one. But yeah, so there's, like, different names for, like, different lengths of a fanfiction. So there's one word for very short fanfiction, which is called a drabble. I mean, I don't know if that term is actually used as much anymore. I know it was when I wrote a lot of fanfic. But basically a drabble is a very short one-off story about whatever. They're pretty short, maybe around, like, 100 words, 200 words. They're, like, really short. And they're usually, like, one-off, like, instances about characters or whatever sort of event that they want to tell. Then the next one up would be a one-shot, which is usually one, like, set thing. I don't know how else to explain it, but basically fanfiction are sometimes either just one individual chapter, or a fanfiction can have multiple, like, split-up chapters that are really long. But some people opt for just posting everything at once in, like, one quote-unquote chapter, and that's called a one-shot. You could have a very long one-shot, but you could also have the same length in, like, a multiple-chapter fanfiction. But usually it will be, like, a blank one-shot, as in, the blank will be filled with whatever the word count is. So, for example, a 10k one-shot is a one-shot that is 10,000 words long. You also get things like a 20k one-shot, where it's 20,000 words. And it can kind of go up like that, where a one-shot is just, like, an entire story that's told in one go, beginning to end. And then conversely, you can also use word count when describing a multi-chapter fanfiction. So, like, oh, I read this really good 50k fanfic. On websites like Archive of Our Own, otherwise known as AO3, you have the option to label your fanfiction as either in progress or completed. So there is a lot of times where People will get invested in a fanfiction only to find out that it's not completed. And sometimes uncompleted fanfictions end up getting abandoned, or they don't end up ever really getting finished, basically. So there will often be people who warn others that this is an incomplete fanfic, or that it was an abandoned work in progress. But they'll still read it. Meanwhile, you know, if you mark it as completed, then that means that everything that you have is already, like, that's the length of the story. On Archive of Our Own, it is possible to mention how many chapters you think your story is going to have, or you could leave it, like, a mystery because you don't know how long it's going to be yet. So that's a way to kind of gauge whether or not you think something is going to be finished. And that's the worst feeling, indeed, especially when it's like a really long fanfiction as is and it's still not finished. You're just like, man, I put in all of this time investment and then it's still not finished. R.I.P. Did you ever unfinish one of your fanfictions? Oh, tons. Do you know how hard it is to balance writing fanfiction and also, like, other obligations? It can be quite difficult. There was a period of time where I specifically only did one-shots because I thought that that would be easier than trying to maintain a multi-chapter story. That abandoned tag. Okay, the thing about... There is a difference between abandoned and also orphaned. Abandoned basically means I'm never going to come back and finish this. So they'll tag it as that so that people know that it's not going to get an update. Meanwhile, on Archive of Our Own, it is also possible to orphan a story, where you, like, purposefully take your name off of the story, and it is considered an orphaned work, so it looks like it was written by an anonymous person. I think with orphaned works, you also have the option to adopt them, and you could pick up where the author left off. Sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. OMG, let's go. Yeah! Sometimes an author will be willing to have it be adopted. I believe this was something that was more unique to Archive of Our Own specifically. They kind of took it from the idea of, like, filling prompts, which was something that was more popular in the live journal days of fanfiction, where people would post, like, I want to read a fanfic that's about these two characters doing XYZ, and then people would fill the prompt. Thus why it would be called, filling the prompt. Yeah. Do you have a fave fanfic tag? I have a lot that I like. I read several. I will usually gravitate towards alternate universes. I don't tend to read stories that are super canon compliant, just because me personally, I like seeing the more innovative ways people will write about the existing characters. So I tend to like AUs a lot. Specific genres, I prefer fluff. I like good, not necessarily wholesome, I feel like that's the wrong word, but I enjoy stories where the characters are, like, happy and doing, like, cute, fun stuff. I don't go out of my way to read an angst fanfic, but now we're getting into the discussion of, like, genres, specifically. There's, like, different genre of fanfic besides, like, setting. Yes, okay, so fluff basically means it's cute and it's wholesome and it doesn't usually have a lot of substance. But not in a negative way. It mostly means there's only going to be happy stuff and there really isn't going to be too much focus on the negative side of things. Or, like, the negative side of the characters, or the negative side of the relationship. Like, basically, it's fluff without plot. There can also be fluff with plot, but fluff generally means, like, it's cute, and it just makes you feel, like, warm and fluffy inside. Yeah, it's basically like a slice of life, kind of. Meanwhile, angst fanfiction is usually told with the intention of making you hurt. On purpose. Technically, angst and then hurt and comfort fanfics are two different genres, But they're starting, they do often bleed together because some people don't want it to be only angst and they want there to be at least some sort of feel-good moments. But a lot of angst fanfiction is meant to be, like, purposefully dialing up the pain and suffering that the characters go through. And they, like, really focus on, like, dark stories. There's also a thing called dark fic, where you take the characters and make the story that they're in, or, like, their experiences even darker than the existing canon. Because some people do really like dark, edgy stories. And then there's, like, you know, hurt and comfort is a subsect of angst where there is pain, but then there's also, like, the characters comforting each other and, like, working together to get through it. You also have parody fanfiction where people will, like, parody the existing canon material and, like, purposefully write the characters out of character just to be silly. And then we can get into other, like, types of fanfiction from here as well, because it spreads out like crazy. You'd be surprised the amount that expands when it comes to fanfiction. I'm learning so much. I apologize if it's a bit overwhelming. It's easy to kind of go all over the place with fanfiction because there's just so much to cover. If you have specific questions, feel free to ask them. I would love to answer. How are you? Wow, what a question. I'm alright. For those of you that are wondering about the evaluation this morning, besides the fact that it was very quick, I did get the actual day that they're gonna work on stuff scheduled. It's going to be Thursday morning, Onigashima time, so that will be fun. Fun question mark. So I don't know how long it's gonna take. There's a chance I might have to delay the karaoke or change it, but I'm hoping I won't have to. But it'll be Thursday morning. Woohoo! Curious if there are any other famous fanfiction other than 50 Shades. Have you heard of My Immortal? So, okay. My Immortal comes from the era of self-insert fanfiction. What do I mean by self-insert? So, self-insert fanfics are stories about you creating an original character that you insert into an existing narrative. The most famous, if arguably one of the most cringe examples of a self-insert fanfiction is the Harry Potter fanfic My Immortal, where the self-insert character is so insufferable and causes everyone around her to be so out of character that it just became a parody of itself, essentially. I think My Immortal is one of the examples of a fanfiction that was abandoned but got readopted, and someone, like, tried to finish it, but it was not the original author, so it got even worse because the original author was mocking the initial intent. And I think that's kind of sad, because I think the biggest appeal of My Immortal is the fact that the author behind it had so much passion for her extremely wrong takes. But yes, the story follows Ebony, Darkness, Dementia, Raven Way, a goth, very, very goth, like, vampire-adjacent wizard girl who enrolls in Hogwarts and just does not care about anything. She thinks that everyone who is not goth is a prep, and she hates them. She has a fling with Draco Malfoy and Harry Potter, but she makes Harry also goth, and he has, like, a goth name. I don't remember what it is. She also does this thing where she inserts a lot of author's notes. Now, author's notes are something that was kind of let go of as Archive of Our Own became the main place to publish fanfiction. but it was a holdover from fanfiction.net. Yeah, that's the other thing about My Immortal, is it was riddled with typos. They did not really care about how to write things, and like would just kind of make author's notes that are like, I don't know how to spell that, but I need to use the word type of deal. But an author's note is basically the author leaving a note in the middle of the story and like breaking the whole story's immersion to be like, author's note, I just think this is so cool, or wow, isn't this a cool description? Like that kind of thing. Some author's notes are also times where the author will write themselves having a conversation with the character that they are telling a story about. Not something that happened in My Immortal, but I can think of a number of fanfiction, and I was also guilty of this too when I was young, where the author would like have a conversation with the characters at either the beginning or the end of a chapter and be like, wow, look how much I tortured you. And the character will be like, why do you do this to me? Wah, you're such a mean author. Wah. And like you act like you have this sort of like insane power trip over the characters you're telling stories about. I don't know why that was a thing. It happens way less nowadays when it comes to writing fanfiction that I have noticed. But that used to be very common in the older fanfic days. Archive of Our Own does have an option for you to have author's notes at the beginning and end of your story. Way less common to see author's notes within the story itself. And I don't usually see the authors having conversations with the characters at the beginning or end. So, you know, that's a thing too. But My Immortal was also known for its insane author's notes at like both the beginning and the end of the story. Like sometimes the author's notes were more hilarious than the actual fanfic content of the chapters. Isn't that called meta? No, it's different. It was specifically referred to as like fourth wall breaking because of how often you would be like, oh, this part of the story is gonna get really interesting. Which, like, yeah, of course you know that. You're the frickin' writer. So, yeah. It was actually quite common in the past for people to, like, stage readings and, like, live performances of My Immortal just because of how notoriously bad it is. My Immortal was the one where she would write "get it" after all her jokes, right? I'm sure she did that once or twice, but she would usually be like... She would write, like, a weird description of, like, blood dripping from her character's eyes or something and be like, isn't that so cool and gothic? Or something. Like that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't think it's necessarily meta writing. I think meta writing has its own specific, like, intonation to it. Missed out on the start of the stream? It's okay. You didn't miss very much. I've just been briefly describing fanfiction in general. But yeah, so self-insert fics have a bit of a reputation because it's usually taking a character that the author wishes that they were like, but isn't actually like. And then they write about their experiences interacting with the other characters, no matter how out of character they make everyone else be in the process. So that's also where the idea of a Mary Sue comes from. A Mary Sue is usually a female character that is extremely perfect, is loved by everybody in the media, except for characters that the author hates, because if the author hates them, then they're going to make that character suck and be super mean, but then everybody else is going to bully that character, even if it doesn't make sense. I can speak from experience on this one because I... Okay, here's some fun Yuno Hanaki lore for you. I had a self-insert... do I want to say the fandom that it was for? I don't think you could find it. I'm not going to go into too many specifics, but basically I had a self-insert Naruto fanfiction that was so bad, it was featured on a forum for bashing bad fanfiction. I was really young, okay? I was like I was really young, okay? I do remember finding it on the forum and thinking that they were being so mean, and it just made no sense how they could be so rude to me, just this innocent little fanfiction writer. I took it personally. But anyways, so the fanfic itself, I was very guilty of doing the thing where characters that I liked me, and then characters that I hated, I would treat very poorly. It's called character bashing. At least it's what it was called back then. It would basically be you going out of your way to slander all of the characters in the media that you don't like. So that's, yeah. that's, yeah. So I did bash a few of the characters. Usually, when it comes to writing a Mary Sue story, you're bashing the female characters, and I bashed a female character. It was not, I will admit, it was not nice of me. I was not a very nice writer to this character. I don't think she deserved that, but, you know. You live and you learn, and you live and you survive. It is what it is. And yes, the character did have a love interest. Why would I bash 1010? In what universe? I actually loved 1010. Are Mary Sues inherently bad? No. I think something that's important to understand about fanfiction is that it exists for you as a fan. Fan is half of the word. I don't think that we should be as critical of Mary Sue's as the older times used to be. People used to initially be, like, very, like, up their own asses about about, like, how a character would be written, and, like, here's all the things you need to do to avoid it being a Mary Sue. However, I think that it's okay to have a Mary Sue main character. I think at this point, it's okay to have, like, the most indulgent fanfic possible. In the end, it's for you. If people, like, have to go out of their way to make fun of the thing that you wrote that was mostly for yourself, who cares? Who cares what they think? You wrote that story for you. Nowadays, I see so many characters get called Mary Sues, and man, these people have seen nothing yet. Yeah, I feel like I've actually seen people say Mary Sue less. Even the person who was known for, like, kind of popularizing the term, and the person who made the Mary Sue character test, has since disavowed it and said, you can have, like, as many of these traits as you want, or try to avoid them if you want. What's important is having a character that makes sense within the story that you're telling. Like, the main thing that I think defines a bad Mary Sue from a good Mary Sue is if they just have powers or can do things that just don't make any sense within the original media. I think that's where you have a bad character. But if your character makes sense within the story, like if we're gonna talk about, like, Naruto characters, I guess, if your character is still a ninja, like, in one of the hidden villages, but they have, like, super strong powers or whatever, that's fine. So do most of the characters in Naruto. Who gives a shit? You know what I mean? But that's just my opinion. Some people would say characters like, Batman could be seen as a Mary Sue. Well, he'd be seen as the male version, which is a Gary Stu. But there have been, like, times where certain characters would, like, you know, fail the Mary Sue test and come out being a Mary Sue or a Gary Stu. Just purely based on their canon. It can actually be really fun to go through the, like, test for a canon character that exists in, like, a really popular IP, and then seeing them actually, like, count as a Mary Sue. And then people don't even realize that they were a Mary Sue because of how it's written and how it makes sense within the narrative. I was thinking it'd be something like a Marvin suit. Nope, it was Gary Stu. Remember a stream where you read your cursed Naruto fanfic? I can't even find it now. At this point, I would have to rewrite it and, like, recapture the experience. It was so long ago, and I know that I, like, scrubbed that, like, way off the internet. There was actually a time where I tried to find the fic, though. Like, I tried to see if I could find the forum where they had, like, trashed it, but I couldn't find it. How much do you remember from it? I mean, the fanfiction itself only had, like, 2 or 3 chapters, so it wouldn't be that hard for me to just go back and write it again. I remember the basics of it, at the very least. But there were a few other self-insert characters that I was also guilty of making very perfect for the fandom that I wrote them for. Yes, I did make a self-insert character for Tails. Yes, she was probably a bit too perfect. Didn't really make sense, and yet here I am. But that's the thing, I just think fanfiction is, like, meant to be explored like that. And it can sometimes be fun to, like, have a self-insert character that you shove in. Yeah, I do think that some people could interpret Goku to be a Gary Stu, but because it makes sense within the Dragon Ball universe, he's technically not. But he has Gary Stu elements, and would probably also score enough points on the Gary Stu test to be counted as a Gary Stu. But then it makes sense, and you don't really see him that way because he's still, like, a strong lead character. So that's why Mary Sue and Gary Stu have kind of become outdated terminology. Was it self-insert, like your character was Yuno or whatever? Yes. No. I didn't name her after me. It was still, like, a character that was meant to be, like, slightly different from me, kind of, but not really. Self-insert is actually meant to be, like, you as the author are basically isekai. Like, it's like writing your own isekai about you being transported into a universe. And I know that even though I used an alias for the character, and I, like, changed how she looked so that she looked more edgy or, like, more, like, fantasy character-y, it was still basically me. But yeah, I do think that it was, like, it was more self-insert OC than it was being me. Instead of Yuno forehead, we get Yuno with hair covering her eyes. No. The character had color-changing eyes depending on her mood. That was the thing. That was the thing that I gave her. In a Naruto universe. Why? Why did I do that? That's actually a very common Mary Sue trope. That would earn you like 20 points on the test because of how common that was. Very common Mary Sue feature. That is peak fanfiction character. Exactly! I thought self-insert was when it's written in a way that allows the reader to see themselves as the MC. Or is it a different term? I think there might be a different term for it. I believe that's actually more called a reader insert than it is a self-insert. Self-insert is you yourself. You insert yourself into the story. I think reader insert is when you do the whole, like, your name /YN, your hair color, your eye color, because it's meant to be, like, written for the reader rather than for you, if that makes sense. They're technically different. 10K celebration, you write a new Naruto fanfic to see how much your writing skills have grown. I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if that would be allowed. I might have to get permission if I wanted to do anything like that, but yeah, I think it's still okay to at least talk about the fact that I wrote it. With how many isekai fanfictions there were, they were kind of ahead of their time. Exactly! Self-inserts were like... I feel like the fact that so many people write self-inserts might have been why isekai as a genre became so popular. Do you currently write fanfics? I do, but I don't publish them. not anymore. Usually I just kind of write them for myself. If I get an idea in my head based on like something that I'm playing or something that I'm watching, I'll usually just write it for myself. Maybe I'll share it with like a friend or two. But other than that, I usually just write for myself. I do not publish my fanfiction. I was still publishing fanfiction for quite a while though, but the main reason I stopped was because people would just get so entitled about how you would write certain characters. I was writing a fanfiction for a, there was this idea that I had that was like a really long, like kind of epic story, and I wrote like the first 1 or 2 chapters and I posted it, and then somebody was like, "Why are you portraying the character this way? This is a harmful stereotype, and it is not good to portray characters like this, and meh 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 meh." And I was just like, this fic isn't for you then. Stop reading it. Just stop reading it. Dang. Get over it. Would you ever, or have you written a fanfic related to streaming? I have written fanfics about fictional characters who are YouTubers, or fictional characters that stream. I've written stuff like that before, like an alternate universe where characters that I like were content creators. That is something I have done. But it's never been like me writing a fanfiction about myself streaming. That just sounds weird. I don't know what the point of that is. I could literally just hit the go live button. Meanwhile, telling stories about characters that I like being content creators because I have the perspective of being a content creator is quite fun. That should be a boxer that we get to see one of her fanfictions. Technically, you did already earn it. Technically, I am supposed to read you guys an excerpt from one of my fanfiction one of these days. Streaming is a fanfic confirmed? No, it's not! That's not what I meant. It's more that I just mean that I don't really want to write fanfiction about myself streaming. Like what would I do? I hit the go live button. I let my intro play for 5 minutes while I gather water and I watch people enter the chat. Here are my regulars, X, Y, and Z. Like, that sounds boring. At least to me. Meanwhile, if I'm writing it about, like, a different character, there's a bit of, like, a dissonance there. There you go, that's fanfic. I don't understand what your point is. I do watch you enter the chat. I'm watching you at all times. Didn't you know? Taking attendance during the loading screen. So true. I have a list of all of your names, and if I don't see you, I'm just like, tisk tisk. Another no-show. Don't forget, if you're not here in the first 15 minutes, you're going to get a demerit. You also cannot leave 15 minutes early. You will be banned. I'm joking, for the record. Yeah, I have an attendance sheet of all my regulars. I will write all your names down. It's so over. Would it count as fanfic if it's written by you? Yes, because you guys are people, and I am taking your likenesses and I'm trying to emulate them in the story. Like, I would have to have imaginary chat interactions if I was writing a story about it, you know? I would have to kind of, like, pretend what I think you guys would say in response to whatever this fictional Yuno is streaming about. Don't say that you're all bots. We've moved past this arc. We did that during my initial few weeks of being here. You're not bots. I know from experience that you're not bots. Bots don't have nearly as much sass as you guys do. Unfortunately, we are not predictable enough to guess what we'll say. That's not true. Some of you are quite predictable. For example, if I wrote about fictional Yuno talking about pizza, I already know that someone would speak up and be like, you should get a pizza with ham and pineapple. Ham and pineapple is based, by the way. You understand? How'd she know? No, there are different people who would say Bobitsa. I'm talking about one specific person who I know would respond that way in that instance. I have it in my clipboard as we speak. Stop. I was only thinking of one person. Why are 6 of you saying that you would say that? This is sick and twisted. You're ruining my point. We're not bots. Not again! Stop using your fake bot account for fake botting. I will bonk it. Hi, welcome in. Ohanaki. Bots wouldn't use perfect punctuation. Get out of here. Get out of here. You don't know what you're doing. Goodbye, bot. Class got canceled, so lucky to be here. Oh, well, I'm kind of sorry that your class got canceled. I know you were looking forward to starting up again, but at least you can still be here, I suppose. That is still nice. But yeah, so, fanfiction. Revolved bots, the algo has given us better command of grammar. Oh no. I don't know if I like that. World's smoothest segue? I know, right? I'm an expert. What else do I want to say regarding fanfiction, though? There isn't a CAPTCHA test before stream. How would we know? Maybe I should instill one. Maybe during my loading screen I'll put up a CAPTCHA, and if none of you can answer it correctly, I just bonk you. How'd that feel? My streams just become a Turing test. You could explain the rating system on AO3 since it's pretty complex. That's true. The rating system is quite detailed. At least on Archive of Our Own. Why are y'all saying you would fail it? That's messed up. Also, I'm not Yuno Pratt. I don't know why you're talking about her right now. Select all images containing an Oni. So true. And then I just make it really difficult because they're super zoomed in and blurry.
An offering. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for the $5. Don't know if this has been asked as I just joined, but do you like to insert yourself in fanfiction? I did that a lot when I was first starting out with fanfiction. A lot of my characters were just like glorified inserts of me. Nowadays, I think I am a bit better at making characters that are different enough from me that they don't feel like insert characters. But I do occasionally make an OC that I will insert in a series that I like. But I try to make it believable. At least that's my goal. I always try to make sure that the character that I'm inserting makes sense. But sometimes, you know... I think it's okay to acknowledge that there will be times where it doesn't make sense. And I do sometimes ship myself with characters as well. Ship, by the way. I said ship. I do occasionally ship myself with canon characters. I know the last time I said ship, some people were like, you do what? Because you guys think you're a bunch of jokesters. You all think you're so funny and silly. But no, ship with a P. Ship. There's a B. No, I said P. I hate this place. I'm an extreme. It's so over. But yeah, no, I have occasionally inserted myself. I do write, like, I do sometimes write more indulgent stories like that. Not as often. I usually will just make an original character instead, and then that kind of serves as my author proxy. Because I think it's more fun to try and make a character within the confines of the universe, rather than just insert myself. But I do a little bit of both. Since I write fanfiction primarily for myself these days anyway, it's all for my own gratification. I just kind of do whatever. Do you have a favorite fanfic, either your own or made by someone else? I do. There was this writer... So, there was a Tales of Vesperia fanfic that I read a long time ago. That was really good. It, like, shaped my entire worldview and understanding of the ship that I really liked for Vesperia. It was a really good fanfic. I loved that author's work. And she wrote, like, a lot of Tales of Vesperia stories. She also had an alternate universe that focused on that ship as well. But the main fic that I loved from her was just a canon divergence, or, like, an elaboration of, like, post-game canon. It was such a good fanfic. I loved it so much. And there was a time that I read it, I reread it, like, fairly recently, I think, like, maybe a year or two ago, and it was still so good. I loved it so much. Can we read it on stream? The thing about reading fanfiction is I don't know what the rules are. I would have to talk to management about it, because I wouldn't want to, like, read a fanfiction and then end up having us get in trouble because we're, like, reading about a non-canon event from an existing IP. I just get worried about it, you know? I wouldn't want to, like, step on anybody's toes or cause problems. It's a bit looser unless it's not safe for work. I suppose that's true. Not a no, better than I expected. But yeah, no, that was probably the fanfiction that, like, most inspired me to write. Which is probably something that she was not a fan of, because she realized very quickly that I was a baby that was not that good at writing at the time. But I was a big fan of her work. I read all of them over and over. But I don't know, I feel like I just kind of want to get, like, a better idea of, like, how I could go about doing that. I do think I could at least plug the fanfic. Maybe. I just don't know if I want to read it on stream in case it makes the... in case things get weird. Would you be willing to make fanfic readings a semi-regular thing? Well, I don't know. Because I don't know what the scope of it would be. Would it be me sharing fanfiction that I like? Or would it be you guys writing fanfiction and then we read that? I'm not really sure what the overall grounds would be. Didn't know fanfiction had such strict rules. Well, the thing about fanfiction is you probably should not monetize it. As in, you very much should not. There are a lot of famous court cases regarding authors who got very mad that a fanfiction existed because they thought that it was taking away readers, like they thought it was like damaging their brand and like their content, and they also thought that it was like a copyright infringement because of the fact that it was using their characters. Fanfiction has very, very specific conditions that must be followed when it comes to actually doing it. For example, Archive of Our Own has a rule that you cannot advertise writing commissions on it. I think they've even gotten a bit stricter with like promoting your other social media platforms, especially if it's a platform where you take writing commissions. You should not take writing commissions for fanfiction. I will just straight up say that. I don't think it's right. Because I think that means that you are profiting off of another creator's IP. But that's just my opinion. I know there are people who will do it anyway. That's fine, but Archive of Our Own specifically has rules to avoid people advertising their commissions. You're also not allowed to say that something you're writing was a commission, because that can get Archive of Our Own in a lot of hot water legally, because the whole reason that they're able to defend fanfiction the way that they are currently is because of the fact that they mentioned that it's not monetized. Like the fact that they don't earn money having the fanfiction there, and that like the writers can't earn money from writing fanfiction because it's fanfiction. That does remind me of something. A senpai of yours did get a strike for a script, so maybe it is a good call. Yeah, I think I would just want to play it safe. Maybe I would keep that to members. If we were going to ever read fanfiction, I think I might keep it to like a members-only thing, just to be on the safe side. I wouldn't want to upset anybody. I mean, the author that I'm talking about now that wrote the Vesperia fanfiction, I don't think she has written any fanfiction in an extremely long time. So I doubt she would care, but I also just don't, like, especially because the fanfiction that I'm talking about was one that was, like, set more within the confines of canon. I wouldn't want to upset her or somehow Bamco. I'm still trying to get that partnership. Let me not ruin my chances. I want to rock that boat. What have courts ruled on whether it's a copyright violation? Typically, courts rule that the usage is a copyright infringement. I need to look up... There was, like, a specific case, that I'm thinking of. Yeah, so there is actually a whole Wikipedia article about legal issues that fanfiction has faced. Let me scroll through this. Okay, so the organization behind Archive of Our Own is called the Organization for Transformative Works, or OTW. They fought very, very hard. Oh, hold on. Oh, were we rated? Sorry. I got a package. I had to, like, run. Hi. Who rated? Who rated? Hirojis. Ah, Nami. Hello. Hi. Sorry. I guess you guys rated, like, right when I ran away to go get the package. But anyway, I just got my debut merch. Oh, thank you for the gifted memberships! Thank you!
May the only lights guide you back to
Ugh. I, like, ran up and down my stairs. I think I've mentioned this, but the box layout is, like, pretty much all stairs. So, I have to, run downstairs in order to accomplish getting stuff from outside. Because the majority of the box stuff is upstairs. Whew. I ran.
May the only lights guide you back to me.
She lives on a slant. No, I live on a mountain. This is different. There's a difference.
May the only lights guide you back.
Sometimes kawaii merch takes ages to arrive. No, this is my debut merch. Like the stuff that released in October. When we debuted. This is the debut merchandise. Came in a big-ass box. I think it's because I got the poster. I think the poster is in this box. Yeah, no, this is the debut merch, guys. At least I think that's what's in here. Let me check the paper. Yup. Yep. That is it indeed. Why is this box so big? Still faster than some merch? Oh man. I apologize. I know I don't have control over the speed of the box, but I apologize. Live merch unboxing? I don't have my scissors! I need a box cutter. That's what I forgot to buy! I bought new stationery stuff earlier, and I forgot that that site also had box cutters. I forgot to get a freaking box cutter! I've been meaning to get one for so long. I'm sorry! I'm sorry my merch came here so fast. Scissor can suffice? I know it can, but I wanted like a box cutter so I could keep it in my room. You need box cutter funds? I mean, box cutters aren't that expensive. I just keep forgetting to get one. I just keep forgetting. Also, I didn't realize I was going to have to sign for the... sorry, I'm catching my breath still. I didn't realize I was going to have to sign for the package, so that was why I got scared. I have, like, island tasks that I have to take care of this evening, so I actually thought that it was someone coming to get me early, and I was about to freak out. I was about to lose my mind. I was like, better not be now. I'm not done streaming. How are you going to defend yourself from those boxes? Exactly, I need a box cutter. But yeah, that was something I forgot to get. I got, like, other stationery stuff earlier, but I forgot to get the... the box cutter that I wanted. I'm so bad at remembering things. I will go onto a site like, okay, I'm going to buy X thing, and then I buy literally everything else, and I forget the original thing. It's cool that it's here, though. So that means that I have the poster, and I have the acrylic stand, and I have the can badge. Yeah. I don't have a frame for the poster, though, so I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. Now it's real! Yeah! The merchandise is real! I can't believe it actually exists. That's crazy. Anyway, hello Hiroji. Today we are talking about fanfiction. I was just talking about, fanfiction that inspired me. Because I do have several fanfics that I really, really like. The Vesperia fanfics were like the first things that inspired me. I was also very inspired by a different fandom fic that like took an existing alternate universe for the series and like elaborated on it and expanded on it and made it really cool. I like that one too, but I'm not gonna share the fandom for that one. Have you talked about fluffing? I mean, I've talked about fluff. I think you were thinking of the wrong term when you mentioned fluffing. What were the outcomes of the court cases? Oh, right. That is what I was looking up. Okay, so OTW has advocated the legitimacy of fanfiction due to its transformative nature. OTW's position is that fanfiction and other fan labor products constitute copyright fair use under... because they add new meaning and messages to the original work and thus fall under the exemption to U.S. copyright law the Supreme Court defined in Campbell versus Acuff Rose Music, which was later revisited and followed in SunTrust. Yeah. OTW's vision includes seeing all fanish works recognized as legal and transformative and accepted as a legitimate creative activity. OTW is not the only organization to support the idea that fanworks are transformative. In Salinger vs. Colting, the New York Times and other major media conglomerates filed an amicus brief supporting Colting's book, as did the Library Copyright Alliance. Yeah. So there have been like a few cases. I also can think of authors who openly denounced fanfiction. I'm trying to find that. Okay, yeah, the Anne Rice case. So, so Anne Rice, I think, is one of the more common examples of somebody who hated fanfiction and thought that fanfiction did literally nothing. Anne Rice objected to fanfiction based on any of her characters, mostly those from her famous interview with the vampire and its sequels in the Vampire Chronicles, or other elements in her books, and formally requested that fanfiction.net remove stories featuring her characters. However, in 2012, Metro reported Rice had taken a milder stance. I got upset about 20 years ago because I thought it would block me, but it's very easy to avoid reading any, so live and let live. There have been, like, other people who tried to, like, make cases against fanfiction in order to protect, like, their existing copyright. So other examples are from, like, Robin Hobb, George R.R. Martin, I think would be the most popular one. Many authors do this in order to protect their copyright, and especially to prevent any dilution, saturation, or distortion of the universes and people portrayed in their books. That is usually a common argument with copyright law, is that, like, if you make something that's too adjacent to an existing thing, then some people will think that it, like, dilutes the market, and it means that some people could get confused and think that the fan works are the legitimate work. Anne Rice was awful to fanfic writers. She threatened children with lawsuits. Well, it does say that she, like, since changed her stance and just decided that she wasn't going to read them, and that if she didn't read them, then it wouldn't bother her necessarily. But there was a period of time where she was more aggressive about it, yes. And, like, the Archive of Our Own was partially founded to protect people from people like her, in order to, like, ensure that their fanfiction would be protected. Raggy. No, it's okay. It's a bit easier now, but there is a reason why the Archive of Our Own has such specific rules about how you post your content, and also, like, what you mention when it comes to your content. I was talking about how the main way they can protect their existing belief is that they don't allow you to advertise the monetized platforms where you monetize your fanfics. Like, you can't post something and then be like, if you want me to continue, give me $20, you know? Instead, you have to, like, write it and then just, like, either not mention that you might have been paid to write it, or just avoid talking about that on that platform entirely. Mm-mm-mm. You said you published fanfics. This might be dumb to ask, but did you monetize them? I don't mean published as in turned them into books. I mean I posted them online. I posted them online when I was a kid. Like, that's what I mean by published. I didn't mean made a book. I know it can sound confusing because you publish something online as well as you could publish something as a physical book, but I just posted it on, like, fanfiction websites. I never monetized a fanfiction. Ever, 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 ever. Never. I just simply could not do that. If you like what I do, I take donations. No, you're not allowed to say that on Archive of Our Own either. You are not allowed to mention anything about taking money, whether it's donations or otherwise. That is a very strict rule that AO3 has. Because it could get them into hot water if people are taking money for writing fan works. Because a lot of the reason why these rules are in place is because they're like, it's a fan work, it's not going to be taking away from the original IP because they don't earn money. It's a fan project. And it's honoring the work that fans put in for their fan content. It's important to, like, emphasize that it's fan content, because the minute you start getting paid for the work that you're writing, it becomes considered, like, your thing. I find this interesting because fan art seems a bit looser when it comes to fan work and profit. I think with fan art... I'm trying to figure out how I want to word this, because I'm actually not sure how I can word it, because I never drew fan art. I don't draw. But I think that, like, fan art in particular has its own set of protections. I also think most places when it comes to fan works have, like, clearer guidelines for art than they do for fiction. But I think that's because fiction tells new stories with the existing characters that, like, crosses the line from this is just like a casual little doodle I drew inspired by thing versus I told a whole new story related to the thing. I think there's a bit of a difference there that's, like, important to keep in mind when it comes to fanfiction. But yeah, I agree. Don't monetize your fanfics if you can help it. I guess if you like mention that you're on other social media platforms and on that social media platform you take donations, I guess that's okay. You just can't specifically, like, link to the fact that you are taking donations. Generally. As far as I know. I have always avoided this kind of thing because I just don't monetize my work because I'm scared. Yeah, there are different rules in different places. That said, Japan still does have, like, very specific rules regarding doujinshi as well. It's not like a blanket, of course you can make money off of it thing. There's rules regarding it and, like, how you present it. This has been very informative. Yeah, I'm glad you like it. It's been fun to talk about it. I'm a big fan of fan fiction. It was how I first found my love for writing, so it holds a very dear place in my heart. And there's also plenty of, like, other published authors who also, like, adore fan fiction because it was how they got their start. So I think it's important to kind of realize that there are going to be lots of people who value fan fiction. And fanfiction is like a very strong, good medium. I think technically fan art is just a person being paid to draw something. Like a commissioner may request art of an existing IP, but the act of getting paid to do art is okay. Yes, and it's complicated. I respect fanfic writers because you can tell no matter how bad or good they are, how passionate their works are. That's the thing! Going back to the topic of My Immortal, in its original form, like the way that it was like when it got abandoned, there was so much passion behind it that even though it was a terrible, terrible narrative, riddled with typos and spelling errors and just really bad characterization, you could tell at the very least that the author was very passionate about what they were writing. So when the story got readopted and like someone tried to finish it, you could tell that they were not the original author because it was like a parody of itself. Like they made it worse, and then they clearly made it so that they didn't take it seriously at all. And the thing is that like the original author cared very much about the story that she was telling. She would never actually flanderize her own self-insert character the way that the continuation did. Doing that is actually pretty disrespectful. Yeah, it was just kind of like people wanted to see what it would have looked like if it ended, and I think that someone just like took all of the original upload and made it look like they were the original author to try and finish it, but it wasn't good. It lost the original spirit doing it like that. But yeah, fanfiction is a very expansive topic. There's all sorts of, like, fanfiction types and things. I've heard about My Immortal mentioned. I've heard My Immortal mentioned a lot, but I've never really dug into what it is and why it was so popular. So My Immortal was a Harry Potter fanfiction, focusing on the character Ebony Darkness Dementia Ravenway, who was a very gothic vampire character that was basically the author's super idealized Mary Sue self-insert in the Harry Potter universe. She hated all preps, which means she hated most every character that she thought was annoying. She gave her character a relationship with Draco Malfoy, and a relationship with Harry Potter, who she turned goth as well. Like, she gave him a goth name, not that I can remember what it was, but he didn't go by Harry anymore. He went by, like, a goth name. And it was basically, like, she would spend a long time describing the clothing that she was wearing and how it stuck out from everybody else because she didn't wear the uniform. She would flip off anybody that she considered too preppy. All this kind of stuff. And yes, the other reason that it was so famous, as was pointed out by someone correcting me to goth, is that the author didn't spell check, basically. And, like, they essentially just kind of wrote whatever they wanted. They spelled things however they wanted, or just made guesses. They wrote a lot of author's notes to be like, I think this is so cool and epic, and, like, other such, like, silly things that you do when you're young. And the author's notes often had her detailing her relationship with, like, her best friend, who was technically also her beta reader, but didn't seem to be doing a very good job with the editing. But yeah, that's the reason that the fanfiction was so popular, and also because it just completely, like, ruined the original Harry Potter characters. So many characters were, like, written out or just, like, didn't exist, and then, like, all of these dumb things happened. Yeah. Beta reader. So similar to, like, a beta tester for a video game, a beta reader is a feature that was more utilized on fanfiction.net they actually had like a test that you had to take if you wanted to prove yourself as a beta reader. But basically, if you were writing your fanfiction and you wanted someone to look at it to help you improve the work, whether it be to just like check it over for spelling and grammar mistakes, or if you wanted someone who could help you like better construct the narrative, you could find a beta reader. You could get paired with someone who reads fanfic and knows a lot about your fandom and like what you are writing about, and be like, hey, I'm writing a fanfic for this thing. Look it over and make sure that I wrote it okay. And then you would be able to message them on the fanfiction.net website. And you could edit other people's work. I actually was also a beta reader. But yeah, so, the person behind Ebony, I forget what her name is. I guess I'll just keep calling her Ebony. But, she had her IRL best friend be her beta reader, who would, like, do all of the spelling and grammar checks, but I think they had about the same level of understanding of spelling and grammar. But one of the other things that made the story famous is that in the author's notes, they had, like, a falling out, and they would, like, argue with each other all the time. And they got, like, really sassy with each other. So, like, sometimes you would have, like, the chapter, and then you would also have this, like, the girls are fighting moment in the author's notes. In the notes themselves? Yes. They would literally fight in the notes. Oh no, they're arguing in the author's notes again. The girls are fighting! Oh no! The girls are fighting! Stop! Yeah, it was pretty goofy. Your avatar is so pretty. Thank you! I appreciate it. Hehe. So it was IRL drama and fictional drama? It really was. Really? In front of My Immortal? Yeah, no, true. Correct. But yeah, the reason it's called My Immortal is because of the Evanescence song. Because we must remember, Ebony, Darkness, Dementia, Raven Away was a goth. And so, of course, she enjoys bands like My Chemical Romance and Evanescence. There's actually a scene in My Immortal where she goes with Draco in a magic flying car to an MCR concert because they happen to be playing in, like, Hogsmeade? That's the name of the small town, right? For some reason, there's an MCR concert taking place in Hogsmeade, and they go and they do it in the car. It makes no sense. I don't understand why they do it like that either. So fanfiction is social 4D chess. Honestly, the way they were playing it, yes. Although I think they were approaching 5D. I don't know what was going on there. Of course, in the small Scottish village. Yeah. So that was a experience. What is this? You know I literally can't talk about that. I may have turned monetization off for this stream, but... You know I can't talk about that. You have to just understand, okay? You can't play pretend about it. Were My Chemical Romance also wizards in the fic, or were they breaking the rules by going there? I don't think it was ever elaborated on.
May the Oni lights guide you back to me.
Thank you for renewing your Shadowfire. I don't know why you're mentioning $1. $1. Didn't My Immortal take place in England instead of the accurate Scotland? I don't know. It took place in Hogwarts, ? But it was written by an American, so do you really think they know? Technically, it's $5. Thank you for renewing Shadowfire $1. Thanks. Man. What's your end goal with writing fanfiction, or is there none? I mean, like, you want to write an original piece. Well, Some people who write fanfiction do it with the intention of practicing to become a writer that can write their own original work. Some people just write fanfiction because they are so passionate about the original series that they want to make content for it. There's also examples of people who, like, write fanfiction because they got so mad at how the original series ended that they want to write a better ending, or, like, write an alternate universe that does it more justice. So there's been times that people did it purely out of spite. But there are also some people who just write fanfiction because they like it. They just like the thing that they're writing about, and they just want to experiment by telling a story. There isn't always a specific end goal. I think a lot of people just write because they like writing. You must have really liked Naruto. Back then, I did, yes. Yeah. I did quite like it. I mean, I can't say I knew very much about it. I pretty much was basing it off of my knowledge of what I watched of the anime. But... is what it is. You watch Boruto? No. I fell off of Naruto around the Shippuden arc. The fanfiction that I wrote was from the, like, the baby era. When they were, like, you know, pre-teens. But yeah. Ino over Sakura, right? I do agree. I do like Ino more than I like Sakura, but Sakura's okay. Hinata is best girl, though. You wrote a Naruto fanfic? I remember the Naruto and Sasuke ones were pretty popular at the time. I don't think I ever wrote BL for Naruto. I know I read a lot of Naruto BL, but I didn't write any, personally. But I did read a lot of it. Like, a lot of it. Like, probably too much of it. Tamari's your best girl? That's fine. You're allowed to have that opinion. Tenten was my childhood crush. You're so real for that. I also loved Tenten. I love her very much. She's so underappreciated. Such a good girl. I got a friend who did a vampire AU between them, and I was reading it because I wanted to support her work. Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, excellent friend you are. Second of all, I love that. There was this one Naruto BL that I read where, like, Naruto and Sasuke were, like, online friends in an MMO, but then they were still, like, bitter rivals in their actual school. It was a high school AU, I guess, kind of, but also, like, an online friend AU. And then they found out who each other was, like, they discovered their usernames, and that was really... I remember that being a really cute fanfic. I wish I knew what it was called. And, like, it was based off of the author's original, the author's own experience playing that particular MMO. No, it wasn't Final Fantasy. It was something else. I don't remember what it was. What is BL? Boys love. Some people also call it yaoi, but I feel like yaoi is a slightly outdated term. There's a difference between boys love and yaoi. I'm gonna regret asking, but I'm curious. Kind of. Depending on the circles that you're in, some people do think there's a difference. Yeah, I would say that yaoi is pretty much, like, not used anymore. It's specifically, like, it's specifically only BL, because it's, like, more encompassing. I guess if we're looking at it from the Western lens, yaoi would be the thing that's the more explicit? Question mark? BL? Meanwhile, BL sometimes just covers the, like, less explicit romance side. I suppose. I guess that's how I would put it anyway. BL hands doesn't roll off the tongue, though. I suppose this is true. You got me there. But yeah, I think primarily it's only called BL anymore. Yaoi is the deed. Stop! Well, again, I just want to reiterate that people don't really use yaoi at all anymore. It's pretty much only being used in the West, and even then, a lot of people in the West have stopped using it and only really, say BL instead. I'm guessing Yuri and Girls Love is their opposite? Yes, essentially. Are you a ninja or someone else? I am not a ninja, I'm an Oni. However, my genmate Kaya is a ninja. I, though, am not a ninja. Oh, I actually didn't know it was an acronym. That's really cool to learn. Do not call me a bean, Oni. There will be no beans. Yeah, apparently it is. I didn't know that. Yeah, someone up above just said it. Yaoi is an acronym. Stands for Yamanashi, Ochinashi, Iminashi. No climax, no plot, no meaning. Interesting. I'd never heard that before. The only time I hear yaoi is when Not Safe for Work doujinshi comes up or someone is talking about a con in the past. AKA the yaoi paddle. Ugh, don't bring up the yaoi paddle. I'm so glad I didn't go to cons in that era of time. I think I would have hated it. More than likely. The what? Is this like a Tumblr or con thing? It's more a con thing than a Tumblr thing. But basically, there were like booths that would sell these things called yaoi paddles. And the joke would be that it's just like a wooden paddle that says the word yaoi on it. And you would go find particularly male cosplayers. You would smack them with the yaoi paddle, and allegedly that would turn them yaoi. I don't know how else to put it. But that was like the whole like joke, is that you would go find male cosplayers that you wanted to see do like BL shippy stuff, and then you would smack them with the yaoi paddle. And it would like turn them, you know, that. Yeah, there's a reason that it doesn't exist anymore. There's a reason that it's outdated. Cons used to be a much more lawless land than they are today. I'm angry because yesterday more than one streamer was talking about yaoi paddles. Why did yaoi paddles suddenly come up in the collective consciousness of streamers? That's the real question. Why are we suddenly talking about them again? Can they stay gone? Please? Why couldn't I go to cons back then? Explain. What do you mean by this? Elaborate. Pause. What do you mean? Maybe paddles are in the meta? I suppose so. What do you mean, no? I want to forget that information. That's fair. But now you know. You been to cons? Do you not remember that I did the whole Anime NYC stream? I streamed for Anime NYC. Yes, I've been at cons. Okay, to answer your question, I've only been to one other convention besides Anime NYC. Only one other time. That is all. But yeah, I think that's like the only time that yaoi still exists. Did you use the yaoi paddle? No! The one time I went to a convention was after yaoi paddles were like dead and gone as a concept, thankfully. I was like past that era. There were no yaoi paddles, there was no glomping, there was none of that. And I am very grateful for it. Man, I wish there was a Flynn convention. There did actually used to be a Tales dedicated con, though. I don't know if it still exists. But there did used to be a convention that was dedicated to the Tales series. I never went to that, though. How dare you say that I was the homestuck at every con? I literally didn't go to cons! I had friends who went to cons pretty frequently, though. Yeah, I'm aware of Japan's Tales of Fest, but there was like a Western con that was dedicated to Tales too. I think it was called Asalia Con. Don't quote me on that. But I've only ever been to one convention in my life. I'm not saying which one, but I have been to a convention. I've only been to one con, a Pokemon one, where I got like 6 Lugia cards. Oh, that's cool. I used to teach people how to play Mahjong in anime cons. Whoa. Fascinating. I don't know how to play Mahjong. I tried to learn. I didn't get it. I very quickly gave up. I was just like, oh, this is difficult. It makes no sense. Goodbye. There's a Mahjong anime airing this season. I don't know if I'm gonna watch that. Once walked into a convention that was entirely as seen on TV products. That's the thing. There's so many like niche cons that exist and they're all so cool. Such interesting concepts, all of them. Concepts. Do you get it? Because con's in the word? Hilarious. Boy, true. Good one, Dad. Someone in chat said it. I just read it out loud. Don't boo me. That one wasn't me. Don't blame me for that one. I will own up to my bad jokes. That one wasn't me. Stop being pensive! I hate this place. Man. You know jokes are only good jokes? Correct. Tell a joke right now? I'll give you that one. What do you mean? I didn't even tell a joke yet. Stop! I thought that was supposed to be the joke. No! Stop! I was actually thinking! Damn it! Why? I didn't do anything! I hate it here. I don't like it here. This sucks. I was thinking! Well, now I don't want to tell a joke. Sick and twisted. You should do stand-up comedy and just go into the mic. Man. I was actually formulating a joke in my head. But I was trying to figure out if I was going to tell it the right way. I was gonna be like... There once was a pig who was taking a lot of cooking classes. However, he didn't manage to pass even though he was working at it for like a year. Why do you think he didn't manage to pass? And I was gonna say the reason is because he was really bad at bacon. Why are you booing me? Do you know how long it took me to think of that? I think I preferred no joke. Man, why do you think I was taking so long to think about it? I was like, I don't know how to deliver this right. Stop throwing beans at me! That's not fair! Worst. Worst. You Nishikino this whole time was bacon instead of cooking. I hate you. How dare you take my joke and use it against me? I worked so hard on that joke. Man. This is messed up. I don't like it here. Porking the noggin? Oh my gosh. Please.
An offering. Thank you so much.
I'll reward the effort, thank you. I don't know if I deserve this. Thanks, I guess. Your jokes are mid, but you are a great streamer. That's so messed up. Half of streaming is supposed to be me being able to tell jokes. Man, this sucks. Sick and twisted. All I'm doing is my best. Hecklers are wild tonight. Hecklers really do be out here heckling. You're fantastic in the other half. I'm supposed to be fantastic in all halves! I'm supposed to be fantastic in all of the halves! I'm supposed to be all two of the halves, the both, the two, the all. And yet I am not. Why am I here just to suffer? You do a stand-up comedy act? No! I just know all you would do is throw beans at me. I was gonna say tomatoes, but I realized that it would just be beans instead. I pull a comically large hook to pull you off stage. No! No, don't do that either. Man. That would be a waste of beans? I guess? You can always have the trapdoor under you. I don't like that either! Why do we have all of these fail-safes to pull me off the stage if I do badly? Why can't we just assume that I would do a good job? What if I was able to write a really good stand-up routine and you guys just don't know because you're assuming I'm bad because of one joke that I formulated on the fly? Man. Gotta always be ready. This is so messed up. You have to prove us wrong with a stand-up comedy stream? I don't know. Shut up! Never telling a joke again! I hate it here. That's what happens when you make me tell a joke without any, like, anything to go off of. I had to pull something out of my head. I will not accept these pity laughs. Shaking my head. The comedian is always ready. What the? That's not true. Comedians have other people write their jokes for them. And they just learn how to deliver them funny. you're going to pull something out of your head, why not your horns? Do these horns look like they have anything inside of them? This big forehead has to be used for something. I would hope that it's housing my brain and my funny comedy jokes. Why don't the people writing the jokes just be comedians and cut out the middleman? Because you don't want to write all your own jokes. It's better to have somebody else write something funny. My horns don't detach. Do you see this? They are attached to me. They are attached to my head. They are in my head, you see. You understand, they're here, they're in my head, they cannot be removed. If you tried to pull them, I would go, ooh, ow, ouchie, ow, you're pulling on my head. Because they are attached to my head! Stop trying to say that they detach. You can't twist them off like bottle caps. No! They're attached to my skull! If you take them off, it'll leave a hole in my head. If we saw them, will they grow back? No, they would just become a battle scar. Stop trying to take away my horns! Why are you guys doing this to me? This is messed up. Sick and twisted. Glues them back on? Not the glue! How many people have you impaled with those? Not many. Hornless Yuno AU. I can't retract them. I use a special form of Oni magic that makes them appear invisible. If that's what you're talking about. This? It's a special kind of magic that just makes it look like they're not there. It helps me look a little bit more normie if I need to. The few times that I venture out. It helps me look just a little bit normal. But it's a form of magic. It's not... It's not me actually detaching the horns or the crown. What holds the hair flip? There's like a very thin, like, bobby pin that's pinning my bangs up. You're like a naked mole rat? That would only be if I was bald! I have hair! This is sick. Hate this place. Why am I even here? Horns don't go, they're literally right here. Will you style it up like a rooster one day? Why a rooster? Why that? I mean, there will probably be, like, alt hairstyles eventually, question mark? I don't know what they'll be yet. We're just stuck with this for now. I think this is the first time I'd ever seen you hornless. Do you like it? Like I said, it's just Oni magic. It's just a little bit of cloaking. So that I can sneak around in the human world. Do a little bit of sneaking. You better not be here for the beans. There's no beans here. What do you want, a new or different hairstyle? Yeah, I'd like to experiment. I have all this long hair after all. It'd be nice to see what else we could do with it. I am open to experimentation. Reverse mohawk? What's a reverse mohawk? Is that an actual hairstyle? I'm going to look this up. If I don't see anything, I'm going to be sad. Oh! I see. I see. I see. Well, I'm gonna end the stream here. We're gonna call it here for today. I hope you guys learned a lot about fanfiction. But no, I do actually have to end. I have stuff I have to do here soonish. So... Oh no, she's marking this fanfic as complete. Please. But no, I'm definitely willing to do a follow-up to this episode if you guys liked this one. Maybe we could get more into detail about other kinds of fan fiction and whatnot. Time for the phone call? Oh no, I had the phone call this morning. The appointment is set for Thursday morning. Yippee! So there's a chance that I will have to delay the karaoke reward stream, depending on how long the work takes to get done. This guy seems pretty efficient, so I feel like it'll be done in a reasonable amount of time. But yeah. We can explore fanfic tropes. Oh, so true. We barely got into tropes, and I never got around to explaining the rating system either. We might have to do a follow-up episode. But I'll save it for a future OniMon. For now, though, I do need to end so I can get ready to go do island tasks. I'm so busy. Please, free me. I just want to spend all my time streaming. Yeah, you're right. That's another category I could talk about, too. But yeah, I hope to see you guys tomorrow. What am I doing tomorrow? Oh, right. Bad in Theater with a surprise. I'm not sure if we are going to be doing any sort of teasing about what the surprise is going to be yet. But, Hanamizuki have a kind of sort of joint surprise that'll be going on during our respective streams tomorrow. So, I hope you will look forward to it. It's a little bit goofy. I'm gonna have to actually check up with them and see if we're going to do any sort of, like, teaser or, like, a surprise reveal for it, or if it's just gonna appear. We'll see. I'll have to message Doug Worrells. But yeah, that'll be the surprise for tomorrow. It'll be me playing Bad in Theater with the surprise. So I hope you look forward to that. Until then, I hope you have a good rest of your time zone. And until I see you again, Yunotsu!